What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Essential Stoic Podcast. Do you ever feel sorry for yourself? Do you ever feel down? Maybe you think, I don't know, things just aren't working out for you. Other people are to blame. The world's not fair, all that stuff. Well, today we're going to talk about how to stop feeling sorry for yourself. I'm Danny, here, my buddy Randy. What's up, Randy?
Yo, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I think we all experience. Have you had any recent experiences with feeling sorry for
Oh my
yourself?
gosh. This past week I was feeling so sorry for myself. I was like, wow, all the way home. And and here I am like literally pursuing the career of my dreams in like literally living the life that I have dreamed about for years. And I'm like, woe is me. My life sucks. Wow.
Meh.
And so I'm
Yeah.
in the middle of doing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I feel so sorry for myself. And I'm like, that would be a great episode idea. Why don't we do that?
It's funny too. It's funny that you can your brain's a tricky thing too, because even when you're doing everything you want, you'll find yourself catch yourself. Like I catch myself sometimes feeling sorry for myself because I didn't start it earlier. I didn't start doing it sooner. And it's like, well, I am doing it now. So yeah, it's nothing I can do about that. But at least I'm doing it now. And it's kind of funny how even when we have everything we want, we'll interpret it a certain way or find a way to make it not right or to make ourselves feel bad about it or to, I don't, it's a weird thing that we do. I wonder why we do it.
Yeah.
Is it like motivation? Because that doesn't seem to be helpful.
No. It's I think it is a really tough question. I don't know the answer to it because
Yeah.
when I was in the thick of it, it felt like I couldn't get out. And not only that,
Yeah.
it felt like it was going to go on forever. And I think a lot of it was actually due to me just being tired and me have gone out drinking the night before, not getting good sleep.
I
And
think that'll do it. Yeah.
but there were so many factors that could have contributed to it. And so it may have been a big nothing, but at the same time, like in the thick of it, it was like there was no way out. It was just like, yeah, so I just felt
Yeah.
really
That's
sorry
it.
for myself. And yeah.
Yeah. That's what sucks the most though, is once it happens, you're in it and it's just terrible. And I get the same way too. And and you're right. I think being tired, a little hungover or something. Those are easy, you know, things that trigger it, I think, if you want to think of it that way, I guess. But it's I can never, even when it does happen and I catch it, it still takes time to get out of it. And then on top of that, I'm still confused as to why, why it happens so often. You get tired and you're maybe it's you feel tired too, and you're like, I don't have the energy to do all this stuff. I can't possibly do it right now, but I still have other days and other time. But you get so caught up in the moment. It's very weird.
Dude, and I have like I get tired and simultaneously I can't sleep. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
I I have a very difficult time sleeping outside of the normal hours that I sleep. So like I'll be exhausted. Like literally I feel standing up or sitting down that I could just nod off like that, but I'll try and go to sleep and I'll just be staring up at the ceiling like, okay, what now? So it's like it's a tricky situation.
Yeah, usually, yeah, it's weird. Usually I can fall asleep pretty quickly, but sometimes I do run into that problem. If it takes too long, then I'm up here outside. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like we all feel sorry for ourselves for so many damn reasons. It doesn't help too that we're constantly bombarded with information about how other people are doing that nobody ever had to experience before in the past. I was thinking about
Oh,
that the other day.
yeah.
You know, could you imagine they were they were talking I was listening to something they were talking about marriage and rates of marriage and they're talking about how in the past not as many people got married as you thought because they actually didn't have that many partners. You lived in a town, so it's just dependent on where you lived. You might be, whether or not it was possible. And they said there's actually pretty high rates of single people being single. But I was thinking about that. And I was like, it's kind of funny because you're kind of bound by whatever circumstances you found yourself in that community. You didn't have much. You might have known of I don't know, whatever. Maybe that there was a king or something. But other than that, there's just that was it. So you compared yourself to people around you that were in relatively the same position. Now it's you're bombarded with all this stuff about people just at the very top. And it's I think that just makes it very hard to reconcile with our lives.
and you're not so like okay, yeah, great point. So like my grandmother, I remember she always used to like have a picture of the Pope, you know? And it was like she wasn't on the Pope's Twitter feed every day. She wasn't on TikTok watching the Pope do all these dances and everything like that. She like literally had a picture of the Pope. And it was
Yeah.
from, 20 years ago or something like that. So
Probably the
it
old
is
Pope.
yeah, it is a lot more in your face than I think how things are nowadays. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it
So
difficult. Like, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So the like how to stop feeling sorry for yourself. I one thing that I watched that was very helpful was it was this story told about the Buddha. And like a farmer came to the Buddha and the farmer he said, like people tell me you're an enlightened being, so hopefully you can help me with my problems. He's like, I'm a farmer and I really love farming, but sometimes it doesn't rain enough and the crops die. And sometimes it rains too much and we don't get as many crops as we were supposed to have. And he's like, and I have a wife and I love her, but sometimes she nags me and sometimes she doesn't pay enough attention to me. And I have these
Bitch.
great kids. I know, right? And he's like, and I have these great kids, but like sometimes they don't listen to me. And then like other times they don't do what I tell them. And he's like, so I have all these problems and I'm coming to you because you're an enlightened master. Like, can you help me solve my problems? And the Buddha's like, no, sorry, I can't help you. And at this point, watching this thing, I'm like, what the heck? How could he not? I mean, he's the Buddha. How could he not help him? And so the Buddha says, everybody has 83 problems. All I can do is prevent you from having an 84th problem. And the farmer's like, an 84th problem? And the Buddha's like, yeah, the 84th problem is thinking that you can live life without problems. Uh, And I was just like, wow, like that's what I've been trying to do this whole past week is trying to live life without problems. Like I'm feeling so sorry for myself because I have problems. Like, okay, for instance, like all this programming stuff that I'm doing, it causes a lot of problems. Like I get stuck, I get frustrated, I get these
Yeah, oh yeah,
errors.
it does.
I'm not
It's
being taught
overwhelming at
methods that I
times.
enjoy. Yeah, over so like nonstop problems. And I'm complaining about these problems that I have that literally I have created myself because I've chosen to go down this path. But it's like when I heard that, I was like, oh, like life has 83 problems. So like it's just kind of learning to accept the problems and not expecting to live a life without problems.
And expecting, I think, too. But it's funny though. I think that's like when you were saying that too, it's funny that like all of us, I think, that's what we imagine. We imagine like those goals in the future as getting to a point without problems. That's what I think everybody does. When they say like, like, oh, when I get that job, I'll be happier and I make this much. They really mean like I won't have problems. Really, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of what it is, right? We imagine the state or this time where we'll be in the future with no issues. And it's like that's not going to happen. Yet
Mm-hmm.
we still think it. It is weird. And it's funny that we do think that way. It's a good point because I think that's learning to just live with them and to just recognize that it's a part of life. You can't get
Yeah.
around it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. So there was another part. You ever heard that saying that like I felt sorry because I had holes in my shoes until I ran into the man who had no feet?
no.
Oh,
I
okay.
never heard that. No.
Well, so there's like a saying. It's like I felt bad for myself because I had holes in my shoes until I ran into the man with no feet.
Yeah.
And so like I was trying to do that when I was feeling sorry for myself. I was like, oh, but I have a house to live in and I have food that I can eat and I have a working body and arms and legs. And I was trying to do all this stuff. And I was like, but damn it, it's not working. I still feel shitty.
That's still not enough, man. Yeah. It's like maybe it'd be more effective to instead of like abstractly comparing yourself to others in worse positions. Because like, yeah, I guess it can always be worse. Maybe thinking about like, why now is better than before in your life, that might be more effective. Like why it's good that you have these problems instead of negative. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's frustrating to get that it's overwhelming. It's frustrating that you get stuck a lot. And it's frustrating that, maybe like teachers are not the best in this case or whatever, but like at the same time, at least you're in a position in your life where you can have those problems as opposed to
Hmm.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then there's this other thought that came up. So like I'm reading this book called Loving What Is, and I told you about this last week. Really
Yeah.
good one, just about questioning your thoughts. And so I have this thought that comes up, and it's like a really debilitating thought. And it's kind of like remember when I had the panic attack type thing in November? I was telling
Yeah,
you about
yeah,
that. Like this was literally the thought that came up associated with this panic attack. It's that like I'm not going to be able to handle something in my future. Like the
yeah,
thought comes up
yeah.
like I'm not going to be able to handle something in my future, and then I get like really scared and contracted and just like just feel sorry for myself. So and like when you look at it rationally, do I know that's true? That's true? No. Like what's what's the track record? I'm 40 years old. I've handled everything in my life so far. Right now, I'm handling whatever's happening right now. So like, why on earth would all of a sudden I not be able to handle something in the future? But like anytime I have that thought, it's almost like crippling. And so learning to see that thought for what it is and just to recognize that it's not actually true. It's just a thought. But sometimes I get that thought and I have this illusion that the thought is true in the future that I just won't be able to handle it.
Well, it's just fear too, you know? And it's funny too because it's like it's such a they're always so like it's always such like abstract fears too. Like you won't be able to handle something. Well, like even if you couldn't, well, there's probably a different way to handle it then. Like you go a different way to solve, you know, it's like that's as if a problem exists that you just could not get. There was insurmountable, like, which makes no
Yeah.
sense. And it's funny. I don't, it's so weird too that we do all of this to ourselves. Like I can never figure this out. It's like you know it would be better not doing it. Like it would be so much better not to be stressed, not to get depressed, not to be unhappy, not to, you know, but like, and you know that it's like 99% of the time I know I'm causing it. So it's like, why doesn't it just stop? It's so weird. And I think a lot
Mm.
of it is future looking. Like a lot of it is like worrying about the future, worrying about like, you know, what if this doesn't work out? Like, what if I'm not
Yeah.
good enough? Like, what if, you know, this happens, that happens? And it's like, but it hasn't happened yet. So why am I stressed about it? Like I'll know when I get there, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Also, like I think some of it is somewhat habitual. Like we kind of grow up developing habits of worry. And so learning to
mm,
recognize when we're worrying and replace those thoughts. Uh, because
our
yeah,
patterns
definitely.
of where I'm in too. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know
Yeah.
what? I trying to recognize the circumstances in which the feelings generally come up has been helpful for me. Like, you know, we were talking about earlier, like being tired, you know, for instance, or like, you know, recognizing when it's like other things that aren't really related, but probably causing it, like where you're just exhausted or you're sick or something, and that's really why, you know, you can't meet your expectations. Also, too, I think getting your expectations to a realistic level is also really important because I think a lot of us do. Like, I know I struggle with that. You know, like when you're younger, these expectations placed on you that like are really high, but maybe like also misdirected. Yeah, and then
Hmm.
it's like you always have that burden of like, are you living up to whatever the hell that means or is? And that's a
Dude,
hard one.
oh my gosh, that one is like the $1 million question because it's like it's this whole thing of like, could I be an Elon Musk? Maybe I will if I just try harder. And it's like, well, maybe I'm just supposed to be exactly how I am right now. And but that yeah, that nagging question in the background, like, oh, if I just tried a little bit harder, like if I never gave up and if I just yeah. I
I
know
hate
exactly
that
what you're
too.
talking about.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, you theoretically you could dedicate all of your time to one thing, but it's like, you know, at the same time, do I really want to do that?
I mean, and
You
who
know?
knows? Like, we all look at we'll just use the example of Elon Musk for whatever. We all look at him as like, he's doing amazing things with his life. He's done PayPal and Tesla and SpaceX. And what if he gets to his deathbed and he's like, "Ah, I wasted all my time on this." Like,
Yeah.
what if he discovers on his deathbed that he really just wanted to be like an anonymous person and work a 9 to 5 job? Like, what if that's his fantasy?
Or you realize that he wanted to spend more time with his kid and he could have stopped after, you know, PayPal. Yeah, I mean, like
Hmm.
literally, like any number of things, right? Like you're right, yeah. And I think that's the that's the scary part too. Is like I think you have to know what you want. You have to know, and that's hard because
Yeah.
that's how it's the only way to live without like that regret, right? Later on.
Yeah. I remember it was in high school. I think there was like a poetry professor. His last name was Moran.
Moran. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Moran.
Oh my God.
And,
Yeah, I
yeah,
totally. Yeah, I
and
remember
and
that
so
name
there was
now.
a girl who was in his class who was always talking about the golden mean. And to me, I was just, or maybe she called it the golden median. I don't remember. But whenever she said it, I was just thinking about a median in the middle of a road and just being gold. So I didn't really
Oh
get it,
no.
but like it's so funny because that literally is the answer to a lot of things, just trying to find that area, that golden mean.
Yeah,
Like
the
there was
middle, right?
yeah, there was a video that I saw where somebody had a tattoo that said like money dies in the end. And he tattooed that on himself because he had a whole bunch of friends who like made a lot of money, saved up a whole bunch of money, and then died. And he's like, when you die, you don't get to take it with you. Like,
Yeah,
even if you have a whole bunch of money, if you don't use it while you're alive, you lose it. So he's like, the key then is, using your money smartly, but also keeping it smartly. So like, you don't want to spend too much to where you go broke, but you also don't want to spend nothing to where you save up a ton of money and don't get to actually enjoy it. And for me, like that is a big struggle because I'm always trying to save up more money so then I won't have to work later on and all
yeah.
these things. But like I do that at the expense of enjoying the money right now. So trying to find that golden mean.
The balance is crucial. I think the correct path seems to always be the compromise in the middle.
And
Like,
yeah, and the damnedest part of it is that like one of uh the key parts of that equation that you need to figure out the golden mean is when you're going to die, and that you'll never know. Like if I knew when I was going to die, I could calculate to the day exactly how much money I could spend. But the
yeah,
problem is
yeah.
I never know when I'm going to die. So it's just like,
It's
meh,
it's a bitch, isn't it? The unknown's very
yeah,
difficult. It causes a lot
yeah.
of problems. It's a good point though, because I think a lot of people do that too. They really and that's worrying so much about the future too, I think. But it's also worrying as if like you're not gonna, it's also like as if you're not gonna keep earning money too or something, or like
Hmm.
it's good to be safe and it's good to have money,
Oh
but like
yeah.
you should also enjoy it, right? Otherwise,
Dude, I've
it's
worked
hard
I've
to.
worked for myself for a number of years, and it's so gut wrenching sometimes because you can have like such ebbs and flows in terms of income coming in. Like sometimes there's a ton and sometimes there's none, and it's just like, yeah, you never know.
Yeah, you don't get that consistency over time.
Hmm.
That's true. It's funny. Like I know, like it, I think one of the hard things too with this is like the choices we make. We talk about every time you make a choice, right? You're making a choice not to do something else, and I think that also causes a lot of struggle too, because it's like you know, we want these things, so we keep thinking like I gotta choose that because then I'll get it faster, I'll get it now, and at the same time we end up ignoring things that would either be beneficial, make us happy, whatever. And then I think it also can be isolating, or it can also make us feel sorry for ourselves, make us upset because we kind of feel like we're like not getting there fast enough, and we're putting all this time in. You know what I mean? Like that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. And not only what you're missing out on by making your choice, but also we don't look at like what are the downsides of our choice. You know,
Yeah.
what's that shit sandwich we got to eat every day? That
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Like I remember when I was going to be a veterinarian. I loved animals as a kid. I loved playing with animals, and my parents we never had any pets as a kid. So like anytime I was over at my friend's house, I was just playing with their dogs and their cats and everything. And so everybody's like, "You love animals, you should be a veterinarian." I didn't realize
There
the
you
shit sandwich of being a veterinarian is that you have your finger up a dog's ass half the day and you're
go.
killing them the rest of the day with euthanasia. Like I didn't realize that's the shit sandwich. And had I have known that, probably wouldn't have chosen a profession.
And you're dealing with the people who are associated with them and all their emotions and stuff, which is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy job.
Hmm.
That's the other worst part too, is that that's funny. I always found that funny that we pick a job or a potential career without having any experience doing it. And it's like,
Hmm.
and people are like, well, pick where you love it. And it's like, well, yeah, you might like something. It doesn't mean the job's going to be good though, because some jobs like are in that area. It doesn't mean you're going to do that or get to do what you like about it. Like, what do you like about it? Because maybe
That's
that's,
that's a great point.
hard.
Like especially with people living as long as they do. college shouldn't
Yeah,
be until you're like 20 to 30. Like you go to high school,
yeah,
graduate when you're 18. Then you work from when you're 18 till 30. And then after you have 12 years of working experience, where you can just dick around every year for 12 years, making barely enough money to scrape by, but you just get a whole bunch of experience in different fields. Then you know
yeah.
what? You're like, you know what? This I kind of enjoyed. That I was really good at. That I was terrible at. Maybe I'll just go for that. And then you have life experience that you could draw upon to actually go to college if you even need it, because
Yeah.
most people don't need college at all.
Not to mention too, like also like I think you just know yourself. You just know yourself more too. It's not like, yeah, it's dude, they were just talking about like I was just looking at something comparing the cost of college in the past to like it was like I think it was like in the 70s to now and like the relative like value of it and how long you would have to like how many hours it would require to pay back. And like it just ballooned.
It's
Like it's
gangbusters.
ridiculous.
It's
Yeah,
gangbusters.
yeah.
Dude, and they're
It's
going like
insane.
I see these commercials for Southern New Hampshire University, and they're just going after the long tail of people because like literally they know that every I mean, this is gonna sound so they know that the majorities have already gone to college. So now they're just chasing every minority to get them to go to college so that they can collect more money. And
Yeah,
it's not that they
yeah.
actually need a degree.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the funny part too, dude. They get to the point too where they're like handing them out, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, what value
As
does this
long as you pay.
have?
Dude,
Yeah,
I mean, this happened this we were talking about this
yeah,
not long ago. Like I just started a master's program 6 months ago, and I was like I one of the first projects I ended up failing it just because I didn't have as much experience as everyone else in the program. And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm literally going to fail out of this program." And you're like, "Dude, if you got accepted to a master's program, they're going to
yeah,
give you the
bro.
degree." Like
Dude,
that's just what it is.
the only way you leave a master's program is by choice. I swear to God. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
yeah.
pretty much. I mean, I'm sure it's the same as undergrad too. But yeah, that
Oh
was
God,
a.
undergrad I would say is even worse. Yeah, it's like, there's that impulse that like it's just funny, like to get everybody through and on, like, you know, it's just I don't
Mhm.
know, it's weird.
What for?
Yeah, but is it worth it? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So now that we've
That's
gone completely off course,
we have
what
we digressed a
what were
lot.
we talking about
What
today?
the hell are we talking about? How not to feel, yeah, right. How
How
to
to
not
not
feel sorry.
feel? Yeah, how to not feel sorry for yourself. I think an important part is being grateful, but it's really, really hard to be grateful in those moments.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Mhm. I think also having a routine is important because definitely when I was, it's so tricky how like having a routine is beneficial and then how quickly going off the routine can be bad. Because I
Yeah.
literally like I have a morning routine that I think serves me very, very well. But I had gone off the routine for like maybe about a week. Not fully off of it, but just like little things. You know?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't do it every day, or maybe I wouldn't do the full thing every day. And maybe I was having more coffee than I would usually have. And like all these and maybe I wasn't getting the amount of sleep that I would normally have. And maybe I was drinking a little bit more alcohol than I normally have. But all these things when they combine, it just made like
Yeah.
explosion.
Just destroys it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know. I think like, gratitude's good. I do think like just being more realistic is important too. And like not, trying to being more realistic about like really what we have, what we want, what's wrong, I think too, because we tend to blow things out of proportion. It's all like imagination. Like half the time ask yourself, is this like a real thing I'm really worried about? Or is it like just just like a phantom? Because I think a lot of them are like that's what it is. It's like, this abstract fear of failure kind of manifesting as like there's a problem I won't be able to overcome later, or like I'm not going to be good enough or something.
Yeah. Dude, it was like this crazy feeling of like cognitive dissonance. Because on the one hand, I'm feeling sorry for myself, but then when I actually look at it, I'm like, I'm doing exactly the stuff. Like literally, if I could have my dream life, I wouldn't change a thing. And like all of it, even though it's not all complete right now and it's not all working out how I wanted it to be, it's like literally, yeah, it was just really interesting to
Yeah,
be in that spot.
that's the other thing too. I think it's helped me a lot too, is to stop thinking about like in terms of like completeness. You know what I mean? Like, because
Mm,
like our life's not over yet. It'll be complete when it's done, you know, but like
mm,
in the process of living, I think, we're constantly just building on things. It's not like it never stops, you know. I don't think there's not gonna
mhm.
be a point where you're just like, I got okay, it's good. We'll freeze framed it here, you know,
Okay,
like
done.
yeah, done. I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, I think so. I think that's part of it too. Is like it's we have these ideas about how things should be that really just aren't, they're not compatible with the world. And then I think a big thing too is like taking time away from, you know, letting the technology go for a little bit sometimes, taking a walk and stuff, getting away from like all the noise and also all the reminders of like the BS in the world that like I mean, because a lot of it is meant to force you to compare. And that's the whole point. Like social media is all just comparisons. That's all it is.
Hmm.
It's just I'm doing better than you. Look at it's like constant. And
Hmm.
I think that's yeah, it's also bad.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's all I got.
All right, well we'll call it here then. Well, hopefully, yeah, I don't know. Sorry, maybe you still feel sorry for yourself. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
stick with it. You'll be okay. It won't last
everything will be
forever.
okay.
Yeah, it won't
Nothing
last
does.
forever. It'll leave eventually. And it may take a little while. You may um I think trying to make it go away probably won't help that much. Just get back
No.
to doing what you want to do. Get some time outside, go for a few walks. Oh, dude, it also felt like time stood still. Like when I felt
Yeah.
sorry, I literally was watching the seconds tick by. It was like time stood
Isn't that weird
still.
how like time will just like, dude, I that is one of the most fascinating things to me. How like hours can pass by in seconds and seconds can pass by in hours. I find that so fascinating. It's so weird. And it's
Hmm.
always like the reverse of how you would want it to be. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Like, which is
Yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah. But get
All right.
outside, go for a walk in nature.
Yeah. And don't stress too much. So it'll be all right. We'll
Hmm.
get there.
Or stress as much as you need to.
Yeah, that's also good. Don't do no stress, but some stress.
Or a lot of stress.
Whatever works for you. You got anything else in there? Throwing
No,
there?
that's all.
All
Signing
right.
off.
Anyway, we'll be back later with a quick fix. Thanks for staying with us, listening. If you have to here, please like, subscribe, share. It helps us out a lot. Check us out on YouTube, all the podcast apps. We'll be back later this week. Until then, though, peace, Randy.
Later, Danny.